When I came back from my semester abroad, a delicate white flower had sprouted at Lucas's side. She would timidly yet bravely step between us whenever we argued. You're being disrespectful. He's not your dog. I lifted my chin at Lucas. Well? His face blank, he peeled her off and looked straight at me with dark eyes. Woof. Before we continue, subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening. 1. The clumsy little barista had messed up my order for the third time. Irritated, I tilted my chin at Kane beside me. Close the tab. We're done. Before Kane could move, the girl exploded. Why are you picking on me, miss? Her tray trembled, her eyes brimmed with forced grievance. Don't you think you're treating me like dirt? Other patrons turned. The sympathy seemed to pump courage into her veins. I worked so hard on that bubble tea. I stood, expressionless, looking down at her. She shrank under my gaze yet kept going, voice quivering. Even if I'm just a waitress, we're equals. Who gave you the right to disrespect me? I lifted a hand to stop Kane and arched a brow. Oh? Should I kowtow 3 times to thank you for the triple mistake? Low laughter rippled around us. I didn't do it on purpose. Her face flamed, tears pooled fast. I'm sore. Before the apology finished, another long-haired girl, Zoe in human form, burst in and shielded her. Hannah already said sorry. What more do you want? They stared like I was the bully in a Saturday morning cartoon. I tugged at my lip, half laughing. This melodrama finally lured Ms. Carter out. Her brows knitted. Hannah, what now? Kane set the peanut-specked cup under Ms. Carter's nose. Our Lady is allergic. Ms. Carter paled. I'm so sorry. How can we compensate? I offered mildly. Train your staff. I'd hate to read tomorrow's obituary. She shot the pair a scalding glare. Rest assured, repeat screw-ups will be dealt with. The two went paper white, hatred flashing in their eyes. I shrugged it off as an unpleasant blip, until I saw the waitress again while waiting for my car. She had changed into a faded Riverdale uniform, eyes rimmed red. Her Zoe-like friend ranted at the air. Ms. Carter's heartless. Firing you because some spoiled guest threw a fit. You have to get Riley to stand up for you. Then those snobs will learn respect. Riley? Hearing the familiar name pricked my ears. Hannah blushed furiously. Cameron and I, that was just Theodore's joke. It doesn't count. Her lashes fluttered. Besides, I heard he already has a Serena. Zoe groaned in despair. Why would Lucas want that bratty heiress? Haven't you read the novels? She nudged Hannah, eyes sparkling. The prince defies his family for the kind-hearted heroine. The snooty fiancé is just the villainess. You saved the sterling patriarch, the advantage is yours. She grabbed Hannah's shoulders. You're the rightful fiancé, handpicked by Theodore himself. Hannah brightened, nodding hard. I will. I folded my arms, dumbstruck. If she's the fiancé, who exactly am I? 2. Lucas and I were promised to each other before we could even crawl. I'd slipped home early to surprise him. Instead, I walked straight into the soap opera. I snorted. Only then did the pair spot me. Hannah's face strained. You got me fired, and now you're stalking me? Does humiliating the poor give you thrills? Fine, it's all my fault. She bowed so low her hair swept the pavement, tears splattering the curb. Sorry, I can't satisfy you rich people. Passers-by glared. Zoe clenched her fists like she might swing. I kept my arms crossed. Nice reversal. I almost applaud. Because of me? I asked coldly. Peanuts can kill. Should I apologize for not dying quietly? I didn't know. Her lip quivered, she twisted her hem. A white Bentley slid to the curb. The chauffeur sprang out. From the back seat stepped a tall, aloof boy, sharp-jawed and winter-eyed, Lucas. It's Riley. Zoe squealed, shoving Hannah. He's here to fight for you. Color bloomed in Hannah's cheeks. She shot Zoe a coy scold. Lucas's ink-black lashes lifted. His frosty gaze swept past them, and latched onto me. Hannah stepped forward, teary. Cameron, it's nothing. This lady didn't bully me. The sentence died, because Lucas wrapped me in his arms. He buried his head against my neck like a tame wolf. Serena, you're home. 3-inch C. Cameron, you know her? Hannah swayed, face bloodless. Zoe bristled. Riley, what gives? Hannah's bawling her eyes out and you're hugging the enemy? Kane shifted, a black wall blocking their view. Lucas ignored them, arms steel bands around me. As always, the world vanishes when he chooses. Outsiders call him cold, only I know the truth. The memory made my ears hot. I fisted his shirt. You flew in last week. Clingy much? You smeared off my sunblock, probably because Kane screams bodyguard, pedestrians stared. I hissed, people are watching, Lucas, Ellis. He mumbled, no. I gaped, since when was he this stubborn? Fearing I'd flare, he loosened an inch and studied me with those deep eyes, softening my temper. Before I could speak, Zoe shrieked again, Riley, Hannah's still crying, are you blind? I glanced over, irritated. Unwilling to be invisible, Zoe clawed at Kane's arm, trying to barrel through. Kane looked down at her like a statue, immovable. Hannah's tear-choked voice came in fits and starts. I'm fine. She twisted her fingers together as if she'd suffered some colossal wrong. I'm only worried that Cameron's fiancé overseas will be upset when she finds out. I curled my lip, lazily jabbed a finger at Lucas's chest, and echoed in a syrupy drawl, Cameron, whatever will you do if your fiancé is unhappy? Lucas caught my wandering hand and finally lifted his lids for one cold glance. Hannah instinctively straightened, hope shining in her eyes. He spat out two indifferent words, not your business. Scram. A whimper tore from Hannah's throat, she covered her face and ran. Zoe shot me a vicious glare before chasing after her. They walked very slowly. As the car passed them, I faintly heard Zoe shouting encouragement, Hannah, Riley's only sore because you got that love letter. He's trying to make you jealous on purpose. Hannah stopped, hiccuping. You're right. I upset him last time, I need to explain. But every time I go to the Sterling house, he's never there. Zoe jabbed her forehead in exasperation. Dummy, don't you still have the biggest backer of all? I blinked, amused. A warm hand slid over my eyes from behind. Lucas's voice carried a tiny pout. Serena, stop staring at other people. His head settled on my shoulder, tucked against my neck. You're back, why didn't you tell me? Was planning a surprise, but... I pulled his hand away and glanced out the window. The two figures had long vanished. Lucas explained evenly, grandfather wandered off a while back, she took him to the police station. Theodore had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few years ago, though we hired carers, slip-ups happened. Worried, I asked, is Grandpa okay? Fine. The carer noticed quickly. Relieved, I started my jealous tally. And just like that, you gained a fiancé. No. Lucas's lips pressed tight in refusal. He looked straight at me, word by word, I only want Serena. I sniffed, satisfied. Good. At least you're smart. The car stopped as we spoke. Staring at the familiar gates, I absently reached for the door button. Back to Riverdale and the mess Derek's cooked up in orchestra. Before I could finish, Lucas yanked me over and kissed me, quick as a dragonfly touching water, gone in an instant. My face burned a delayed second later. Lucas. I covered my lips, glaring in mortification. His dark eyes held only my reflection, the barest curve at his mouth. See you at school, fiancé. 4. That jerk, Serena, rehearsal's over, earth to Serena. Maya elbowed me, grinning. Why is your face so red? I licked my lips without thinking. Nothing. Life back home fell into routine at once. To prep for next month's concert, I plunged straight into fierce daily rehearsals. Today's session ended. I'd barely locked my violin in its case when a dazzling smile popped up. Miss Vance, grant me the honor of a date? I didn't even lift my lashes. No time, Maya teased, Derek, flirt with someone who'll buy it. She's not one of your groupies. He shrugged, used to the rejection. Must you be so cold, Miss Vance? Ignoring him, I looked toward the doorway. Lucas, let's go. He waited every day. He liked to stand in the shadows, a silent silhouette, yet I always spotted him first. He took my violin case, slung it behind him, and laced his other hand through mine, the temperature familiar and reassuring. Derek whistled nastily behind us. Miss Vance, can you even tell if it's love or just habit? Lucas paused mid-step, then squeezed my hand tighter. I shot him a thoughtful sidelong glance. The hallway light flickered once. Around the corner, girls giggled. So that's the legendary Serena is dating? What's it like kissing a glacier? Bet he says please before every kiss. Their laughter faded down the corridor. They didn't know. Just a few steps farther they'd have seen Lucas pinning me to the wall, my violin case abandoned on the floor while he plundered my mouth. They don't know him at all. I bit his lower lip in retaliation and muttered, Lucas, idiot, why let their chatter bother you? None of them are taller, none are better looking. You're the one who practiced violin with me, fought for me, took the blame. The more I ranted, the darker his eyes grew, until I blurted, I'm not stupid, of course I know the difference between habit and love. The price of confessing out loud? Next day after rehearsal, Maya winked meaningfully. Serena, I meant to ask, why are your lips so swollen? I set down my bow, face stiff, and stood. Lucas forgot something, I'll return it. She drawled, that intense, huh? I glared. Shut up. I practically fled, only to bump into the dean escorting a new girl to the podium at Lucas's classroom door. He beamed, clapping. Class, welcome our new transfer. On stage, the girl wore obviously second-hand clothes, voice quivering. Hello, I'm Hannah. 5. A few seconds of silence, then the room exploded. Any white family on the donor rolls? Her shoes are literally coming apart. They admit charity cases now? The dean's coughs accomplished nothing. He left after a futile sentence or two. Hannah stood there, hugging a worn backpack, knuckles white. After the initial surprise, I lost interest and started to turn away from Lucas's empty seat. Then a timid voice rose behind me. Excuse me, where does Lucas sit? I paused, looking back. Transfer, what exactly is your relationship with Lucas? Someone asked. Theodore hopes. A flush crept over her face. But Cameron and I are just friends. The scattered chatter died. A weird hush fell, eyes flicked toward me at the door. Hannah didn't notice. When no one answered, she scanned the room and zeroed in on the only desk without a neighbor. Her hand reached for the sheet music on it. I spoke unhurriedly. Transfer, didn't anyone tell you it's rude to touch other people's things? That music of mine? You couldn't afford to replace it. Only then did Hannah see me. Her face flamed scarlet. You again. Too bad no one here bought that routine. Seeing no one step in, she gathered her courage and asked in a small voice, Isn't this Cameron's table? Why are your things on it? I only looked at her with a half smile and said nothing. The standoff held until someone slipped in behind me and curled silent fingers around mine. Serena? Cameron. Hannah cried his name like he was her lifeline, tears pooling. Lucas ignored her. He kept his eyes on me, lowered, intent. You have something for me? Of course he'd know. I pouted and let him peel my fist open. In my palm lay the button I'd torn off his shirt yesterday. So that's where it went. A faint smile warmed his eyes. Putting your stuff on Cameron's desk, don't you think that's inappropriate? A voice that couldn't bear to be left out. Hannah didn't notice the stares, she plowed on. Did you even ask him if he minded? Lucas's brows drew together. I squeezed his hand, don't, and asked sweetly, any suggestions, then? She batted watery eyes, hesitating. Even if you're Cameron's sister, isn't this crossing boundaries? Cameron will date someone eventually. What if his future girlfriend minds? The crowd finally burst into laughter. Transfer, what joke is this? Who told you she's Lucas's sister? Hannah bit her lip stubbornly. But they obviously. I stepped forward, fingers laced through Lucas's for everyone to see. The sight seemed to sting her, her face drained of color. I leaned lazily against him. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Serena. My smile curved, deliberately cruel. I hear you're Lucas's fiancé. Funny, so am I. 6. The words left Hannah bloodless. She stumbled a step closer. But, weren't you? Didn't you go abroad? Someone snorted first, I couldn't tell who. I lifted a brow, amused. Transfer, I only went on exchange. I came back. I drew the last syllables out. Got it? But, Hannah gnawed her lip, gaze pleading at Lucas. He toyed with my fingers, indifferent. I don't know what illusion you're under. My fiancé has always been Serena. If it's because of my grandfather, he paused, tone flat. After moving you to this school at your request, any debt you imagine the Sterlings owed you is paid. Hannah looked stricken. Cameron, are you still mad? That guy last time, he really. Lucas cut her off without interest. Spare me. Your life is none of my business. Mocking stares pinned her in place, whispers and snickers fluttered around. Who does she think she is? Serena and Lucas are endgame, she's just a clown. She trembled under the weight of it, finally choking out, You're all horrible, and bolted out the door. I shrugged, not a flicker of guilt. She didn't show for the rest of the morning. At rehearsal break, I heard muffled sobs from the restroom. I came out of the stall to find her at the sink on the phone. But Serena's back. Will Cameron still like me? Her speaker leaked every word. Zoe's voice rang clear. Hannah, haven't you heard? First love never beats destiny. Lucas just thinks habit is affection. Hannah nodded through tears, comforted. You're right. I can't give up. Ordinary little me, crossing paths with someone like Cameron, fate tied us together. She wiped her face, fist in the air. Time will show him. I'll make him see. I twisted the faucet on purpose. Water roared. Hannah jumped as if burned. You, again. Her eyes shimmered, fragile. How dare you eavesdrop? Eavesdrop? Please, I was here first. I tilted my head, studying her plain, forgettable face. First love never wins? I arched a brow at her. All I know is what's mine stays mine. 7-inch rumor says the new transfer ran out crying after you roasted her. After rehearsal, Maya hunted me down, eyes sparkling. I zipped my violin into its case and gave an insincere shrug. Did she? News to me. Oh, you missed the encore, she chirped. She showed up with a homemade bento box for Lucas and got told, transfer, don't wait. You annoyed him into switching classes. Someone nearby acted it out. The hallway rippled with laughter. Girls got too much free time, I summed up, bored. Serena. Lucas's voice floated over the chatter. I handed him my violin case and we walked out side by side. Honestly, Hannah barely registered. If she didn't keep floating into my orbit like smoke, I'd have forgotten her already. Our upcoming summer retreat mattered far more. Every year the academy heads somewhere for retreat. This time we weren't flying out, we'd stay domestic, pick a Seabright resort. Last year's memory poked me. Lucas, bring extra sunblock this time, giant tube, I warned, sulking. I actually tanned. I looked awful. He stopped, eyes steady on me. You didn't. You've always been beautiful. Then, softer, Serena, let's skip it this year. Why? I asked absently, wiggling my fingers at him. How come you're not holding my hand today? He hesitated, then laced our fingers. A second later his grip twitched, as if burned. He caught himself and held tighter. I halted at once. I wrapped my sleeve around his wrist and turned his hand over. No cut, no bruise. What's wrong with your hand? Lucas, nothing. I frowned, planting myself in his path. Lucas, are you hiding something? His lips parted. That look said it all. Lucas, I'm warning you, I'll get mad. I glared up at him. Remember what I told you last time? We've rarely fought, except once when he went skiing abroad, got hurt, and conspired with my mother to keep me in the dark. I exploded and boycotted the Sterling's house for weeks. He actually cried, terrified I'd stay away for good. Ever since, he'd sworn off secrecy. Conflict flashed across his face. In the end he only muttered, I'm fine. I ground my heel over his shoe, furious smile in place. Fine. Perfect. Lucas, don't talk to me, ever again. 8. This was probably the longest Cold War I'd ever had with Lucas since we were kids. Even stretched out on a beach chair by the ocean, I still hadn't uttered a single word to him. Feeling that stubborn gaze glued to me, I yanked a towel over my head and refused to give him even a glance. I lost track of time until someone tugged the towel away. Let me tell you, I'm not forgiving you that easily. The complaint I'd been rehearsing all day nearly escaped, then died in my throat. Oh, it's you. I pouted, deflated. Not the person you hoped for, so you're disappointed? Maya tightened the towel draped over her shoulders, eyes sparkling with gossip. Where's your little Lucas? Isn't he usually velcroed to you? She studied my face. Lovers quarrel? No way, I lied, chin high. She straightened and scanned the beach, then zeroed in on one spot. Wow, he's been staring at you like a lost puppy, she laughed. Looks like a stray dog somebody abandoned. I couldn't help sneaking a peek, just in time to see Hannah walk up with a small bottle and start talking to Lucas. A cold, sarcastic laugh slipped out of me. Seems he's got plenty of eager helpers. Maya grinned. Jealous? Looks like he's ignoring, huh? I sat bolt upright. Lucas actually took the bottle, lip reading a clear thanks. Hannah lit up, practically skipping away. I yanked the towel back over my face. He's dead to me. That night I crawled into the cabin tent early. The moment Maya came in, she tossed a little bottle at me. I caught it, bewildered. "What's this?" "Your precious Lucas gave it to me," he said. She rolled her eyes and dropped into his cool monotone. "Serena gets bitten by bugs at night. Pretty sure it's the same stuff transfer handed him this morning. Regifting at its finest." She clicked her tongue. I fought to keep the corners of my mouth from curving, gave a haughty sniff. "I don't want anything from transfer." Early next morning, I marched straight up to Hannah and shoved the bottle at her. "Return to sender." Hannah's face went white. "How did you get this?" I couldn't be bothered to answer. Without Lucas around, my temper was uglier than ever. At lunch, annoying Derek parked himself in front of me. "Heard there's a meteor shower tonight, Serena. How about?" I sat up straighter, spotting Hannah heading for Lucas again. Today they were close enough that her teary protest carried to my ears. "That was my gift to you. Don't you think returning it is cruel?" Lucas stared straight toward Derek and me, voice distant. "I told Kane to send you money. Thought you were selling it to me." "Lucas, you're heartless." Hannah stamped her foot and ran off sobbing. The next second Lucas strode toward me. I whipped my head toward Derek and announced loudly, "Didn't you invite me to watch the meteor shower tonight?" "I'd love to go, Serena." I ignored the ache written on Lucas's face. Once I'd cemented plans with Derek, I ducked back into the tent. When I woke, Maya's anxious face hovered over me. "Serena, Lucas, and Hannah have both disappeared." 9. No one answered their phones. Every tracker on Lucas had gone dark. I forced my frantic heartbeat into submission. "Pull the security footage." On screen, Lucas and Hannah walked into the supply shed together. A yawning custodian accidentally locked them in. Maya watched me warily. "Serena," I simply inhaled, tightening my jacket. "Get security over here." Maya hesitated. "We're really going in? What if?" "All I know is the guy's claustrophobic." I lifted my chin. The arriving guards snapped bolt cutters through the lock at once. Light spilled into the shed, and I spotted Lucas immediately. He stood rigid in the shadows, body wired shut. In that state he registered almost nothing, except me. The instant I stepped inside, his eyes locked on mine. His lips moved. I read my name, Serena. I was still furious, but my heart softened anyway. Hannah popped up, stammering, Don't get the wrong idea, nothing happened." I looked right through her, tilting my head at Lucas. "I'm tired." I made my spoiled demand. "Lucas, carry me. How can you disrespect people like that?" Hannah snapped out of her daze. She threw herself between us like a savior. "He won't obey you. He's not your dog." I still didn't acknowledge her. I only lifted my brow higher. "Well?" Without a word Lucas nudged her aside. His dark eyes pinned on me. He curved pale lips into a smile. "Woof." Hannah staggered back, sheet white. Lucas didn't spare her another glance. He simply knelt in front of me. I looked down at him. He's obsessive about cleanliness, clothes always immaculate. Now the hem of his shirt bore a streak of dust, but he didn't care. He spoke softly, pleading. "Serena, let's make up." I hesitated, then smiled, like so many times before, and hopped onto his back, arms looped around his neck. As we passed Hannah, frozen like a wooden statue, I complained in his ear, "Lucas, you're freezing." "Then hold on tighter." I added, "These shoes are murder, my ankles are rubbed raw." "Just like always," he answered, "I'll put cream on them when we get back." I reminded him, "I still haven't forgiven you." His voice went muffled and miserable. "I dreamed. You said you only stayed with me out of habit. That's it?" I punched his shoulder hard. "Idiot, it was a dream." "Then what?" I pressed. Lucas has never been able to lie. After a few seconds he admitted, voice rough, "Then you fell for someone else and lived happily ever after, without me." Sleepy as I was, I bit his shoulder. "Liar." "I'm not lying." Drifting off, I heard his trembling whisper, "Serena, you're going to stay safe, always." 10. We missed the meteor shower that night. Instead, everyone roamed the beach after midnight, collecting seashells. A flicker in my peripheral vision made me turn. Over the rising screams I saw Lucas's face blanch. "Serena." The next instant a wave swallowed me. Salty water flooded my ears, my nose. Darkness crushed in, and I was gone. I woke crushed against Lucas's chest. His whole body shook. White walls blurred around us. We were at St. Mary's. I patted his back on reflex. "Lucas, I'm okay." Maya hovered, eyes red. If he hadn't dived in, we wouldn't even have noticed you'd been swept away. She clutched her chest. Thank God, you jumped into the ocean? I rounded on him, eyes burning. There were lifeguards on duty. Are you insane? Lucas's face was paper white. He coughed once, softly. Serena, you're all that matters. Are you crazy? You insisted on coming with me to die. Don't say that word. Lucas's profile snapped tight, suddenly fragile. His voice shook. Serena, I don't want to hear it. Lucas, Cameron, do you even realize you almost died? Hannah burst in, cheeks streaked with tears, screaming at him. She pointed at me, voice cracking. Is she really that important? You know you're supposed to be my leading man. Maya couldn't watch anymore. She stood, frowning. Transfer, what delusion are you spouting? Serena hasn't even opened her mouth. If you're here to disturb a patient, you're not welcome. Hannah finally came back to herself. I don't mean any harm, I just hoped. She bit her lower lip and looked straight at Lucas. Take care of yourself. Lucas's eyes stayed cold, locked only on me. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not your leading man. If I am any story's hero, my heroine will always be Serena. His expression softened, he squeezed my hand. Serena, don't be afraid. It sounded like an oath. You're going to live a long, perfect life. 11. I was fine. Lucas, though, had mild aspiration pneumonia and had to stay in the hospital for a while. After the summer retreat, Hannah quietly transferred out. No grand exit this time, she came to find only me. In the bleached corridor of St. Anne's, she stepped out of the sunset to block my path. Serena, I've been waiting for you. She wore the same faded uniform from her first day, her eyes newly shadowed. I lifted a brow. Trans, what do you want? She stared at me and said abruptly, there's a voice in my head that keeps telling me, I'm the chosen heroine. The moment I appear, my hero will love me without question, fight the world for me, shield me from every storm. I thought for a second, then offered politely, different fields, different mountains, good luck. She tugged a bitter smile. But that night, the voice told me even gods can't pilot a human heart. Her face hovered between crying and not. This world that isn't mine feels exactly like a dream. She dragged her gaze away from Lucas's ward and vanished down the corridor one step at a time. I puzzled over it for a few seconds, then decided to dump the riddle in Lucas's lap. The instant I walked into his room, he pulled me into the familiar heat of his arms. Complaining about the weight, he nipped my earlobe. Serena, you were gone forever. Flaming red, I shoved him back. Lucas, you're a patient, act like one. I bossily planted him on the mattress. Something feels off. Lucas, what exactly did you dream? What secret are you and that transfer keeping from me? This time I want the truth. I folded my arms for emphasis. He weighed his answer, then opened his mouth, only for me to remember something else and feel a delayed stab of panic. Hey, leave that aside for a second. First swear you won't randomly fall for some fluttery damsel who drops out of the sky. Not in the past, definitely not in the future. Lucas pinched my cheek, the faintest curve at his lips. His eyes held the whole sunset, a living spark inside them. As you command, fiancé. He cupped the back of my neck and kissed me. Outside, the afterglow spread across the sky, clouds soaked in orange as though the world ended there. Emery, against the current. 1. The night before Serena flew home, Lucas dreamed the plot. He dreamed he would fall for another, lured by a sweet, innocent heroine. Serena would die young, frozen forever as the unreachable moonlight. That was the ending fate had scripted for Serena and Lucas, a tragedy, because he was the hero, yet she was not his designated heroine. 2. Serena returned early, just like the dream, and the gears of destiny began to turn. According to the script, after Serena clashed with Hannah, Lucas would side with Hannah again and again out of gratitude. Hannah would become a thorn impossible to remove. What started as a single spark would roar into a wildfire, until nothing could be salvaged. From then on, a rift would open, pushing Serena and Lucas further and further apart. Yet in Lucas's eyes there had always been only one person. She lit up his entire life. When that familiar face appeared and their gazes collided, his heart still detonated. As always, a total surrender. On an almost empty street, not caring who watched, he reached out and pulled her close. Lucas, Ellis. No. 3. One by one the prophecies came true, as though some invisible force were editing events back on track. Hannah slipped into every crack of his life. As the supposed heroine, she wore countless halos. The girl who had saved Theodore's life, the fragile white-clad flower opposite proud Serena, the bullied poor transfer. Citizens of two planets that shouldn't intersect kept crossing orbits, as if heaven itself were matchmaking. Lucas never wavered for a heartbeat. He refused to believe in pre-written love. He would swim against the current, so long as it was the river Serena favored. 4. If earlier rebellions were only skirmishes, the eve of the summer retreat escalated the war. Every time Lucas touched Serena, it felt like molten metal on skin. Fate's warning. He cared nothing for his own danger, but the moment Serena was involved, fear found him. He tried to tell her the truth, but chains around his throat kept the words caged. Of course Serena grew angry. 5. The night she agreed to watch shooting stars with Derek, Hannah cornered him. I know when Serena will be hurt, she said. Come with me and I'll tell you. The dream had shown only fragments, no exact time. He knew it was a trap engineered for heartbreak, yet he jumped. When the talk ended, the supply shed door slammed shut behind them. Darkness swallowed him inch by inch, gnawing at his mind. He understood, this was punishment for every revolt he had led. Fortunately, his Serena arrived again, boots of light stepping straight into the black. No questions, no doubts. She lifted her chin, haughty as ever. Lucas, carry me. The story corrected itself, only to be rewritten again. Mayfly shaking a tree, still willing to die trying. 6. The scripted accident still happened, but this time, he was ready. As consciousness slipped away, he heard the metallic crack of shackles breaking in midair. Somewhere in the void, a tired god exhaled, "You're free." 7. No one ever noticed that, each time, the printed words in the book of fate quietly vanished. Lucas could not love the white-clad flower, and Serena felt nothing for the heaven-sent rival. The couple ignored by destiny strayed from the rails again and again, racing toward each other. At the last turning, they finally embraced, against the current. 8. Serena faded, Lucas grew old. And still I love you.